Okay guys, we're going to talk about neurological conditions. Sadly enough, poor Chippy, he has all kinds of problems along with towing in and having tying up related issues. Another thing we learned very early when we first got him is he had EPM. Now EPM is a neurological condition and if not caught early can cause irreversible damage in your horse. So luckily we caught him early, had a great vet who spotted it well before I ever did. And so there's a couple things I learned on ways that you can kind of tell as a horse owner if that is a potential issue. The good part about EPM is that there is a treatment, unlike a lot of the other neurological conditions, but it does need to be caught early. The treatment is quite expensive. A lot of times when your horse gets potentially diagnosed for neurological conditions, first thing they'll do is jump to the EPM treatment before you get a positive. So again, it's probably the #1 diagnosed neurological condition, but it's not one of those. A lot of times those first diagnoses may not always be correct. So, again, those veterinarians just want to make sure that they start treating early so you avoid irreversible damage. So when you're checking out your horse, a couple of things if you're looking for neurological issues, is obvious their response, that shoe fly response. So, you know, as a fly is on them, you know, do they react? Same thing, you know, when you're touching them and that, do you get a reaction as you're going through? Do they kind of, you know, so you can see right there, kind of sulk up right now. And same thing, you know, as you go across, notice how he responds here. So again, those are things that you're looking for as a good thing. So if they get really where you're going all over the place and they're not dull or they're not responsive, then that could be a sign of some neurological damage. Now watch with some of your neuro horses, a lot of them, like for example EPM, will start to see the degeneration across the hind end, the muscle there. So they may start getting sore. One of the things I learned is when I first started seeing problems, I was like, let's do some joint injections and then maybe some stifle injections, because they were sore, because they were losing the muscle through there, they were compensating through here. So watch if they start getting really sensitive through here and you're seeing joint related issues, you may question, is that maybe this loss here in this muscle mass, okay? So that is something to look for. When he was first diagnosed, this area across the tail was really sunken in. So we noticed kind of that was kind of odd. And his tail was kind of hung at an off side when you were riding him. It was kind of a weird type of side. And then when you pick the tail up, it was very hard to pick up. And as I palpated on him, he wouldn't crunch down. He wouldn't move it a lot. He was like almost like he had deadened the nerves. He's gotten much better. You can see he's responsive to me doing that. And again, he'll crunch down, like right now he's crunched down. That's a good sign for him. Where before it was almost like it had been cut or something where that tail was so loose. So those are things that you want to look for. You'll see a lot of times as they're doing their examination. So again, checking and noticing, do they have that response when you touch them? You know, do you get that shivering response? You know, are they real relaxed in the tail? Also, as I pull on him, notice how he's pulling away. He's even stepping away from me. If he was really neurological, I could actually pull him over, okay? That should not be something that happens. But you see there was a nice little tug of war that happened, and I can't see how he's adjusted, and he's hanging on me. He's hanging. So again, yay. That means we treated and treated right. Where before, if I pulled a little bit, he was stumbling. Some other things we noticed just from a performance perspective is we noticed that he was really clumsy when we were riding him. He was constantly tripping. So again, that is something that you would watch. You know, do they know where their feet go? And like I said, we caught this early and treated it quickly. You can even see he's been off, so we still got to do some more muscle development just because he had the winter off and wasn't really conditioned, but he still maintained the muscle where when we first caught this, it pretty much was sunken in. He was already seeing some of that muscle degeneration. So those are some of the things you want to look for. So start early, have a veterinarian that you are comfortable with talking about with these issues, and don't mind kind of, you know, the earlier you can detect it, the quicker you can resolve it. And again, like I said, EPM is one of those few conditions you honestly, for a neurological perspective, there is treatment out there. It's costly, but it's well worth it, as in the case of our great horse Chippy.